Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump is done playing games. He just directly called out the Democrats' government shutdown bluff, and so now the clock is ticking. And folks, I've got to tell you real quick, President Trump just went absolutely scorched earth on the Democrats, specifically Chuck Schumer, so between you and me, I think you're going to want to stick around for today's entire video. But so now, pretty much what's going on at this very moment is that the congressional Democrats, led by Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, are threatening to shut down the entire U.S. federal government if Trump and the congressional Republicans don't give in to their absolutely absurd anti-American demands. And so for some background information here, take a look at this.
So what we did in a responsible manner as Republicans in charge is we offered a totally clean short-term CR to get that job done. Chuck Schumer saw that. He returned a counteroffer that is filled with partisan wish lists and poison pills and demands. It includes, for example, Brett, what Chuck Schumer is arguing for. He wants to reinstate free health care for illegal aliens. He wants to add $500 million to prop up liberal media outlets. And he wants to add a massive $1.4 trillion spending hike to what should be a simple 7-week stopgap funding measure. We can't do that. We're not going to do it.
Yeah.
And so, folks, much to absolutely no one's surprise, Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are currently looking to hold the entire nation hostage in order to push forward their radically progressive agenda. But you know what? Take a look at what Chuck Schumer himself had to say about all of this just earlier this morning.
He should be sitting down with us. He said he would. Jeffries and I requested that we sit down together. They called us up and said Thursday, 3 o'clock, and then yesterday he canceled it, and he said yes. He said our proposals were ridiculous and radical. Well, they're not radical at all.
Well, actually, all of their demands are, in fact, radical and, frankly, anti-American. In fact, take a listen to what Stephen Miller had to say about all of this just the other day.
The Democrats are demanding free health care for illegal aliens. Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries have been clear. They will not fund law enforcement. They will not fund the military. They will not fund public safety. They will not fund the operations of the federal government that your tax dollars pay for unless they get free health care for illegal aliens. That is the biggest losing message and the biggest losing argument in American history. We will see if there's enough Democrat senators who are dumb enough to follow Chuck Schumer off the edge of that cliff.
And so, folks, this is what brings us to the main point of today's video. You see, President Trump is refusing to play ball with Chuck Schumer and the Democrats. Really, he's calling their bluff. And now, like I said earlier, President Trump just went absolutely scorched earth on all of the absolutely unhinged and anti-American demands from the Democrats, and I want to take a look at that next. But first, I do want to say real quick that if you folks enjoy the daily news updates, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a lot. But okay, ladies and gentlemen, take a look at this. As President Trump just posted on Truth Social, after reviewing the details of the unserious and ridiculous demands made by the minority radical left Democrats in return for their votes to keep our thriving country open, I have decided that no meeting with their congressional leaders could possibly be productive. They are threatening to shut down the government of the United States unless they can have over $1 trillion in new spending to continue free health care for illegal aliens, a monumental cost, force taxpayers to fund transgender surgery for minors, have dead people on the Medicaid rolls, allow illegal alien criminals to steal billions of dollars in American taxpayer benefits, try to force our country to again open our borders to criminals and to the third world, allow men to play in women's sports, and essentially create transgender operations for everybody. These radical left views and policies are what allowed me to win the presidential election, including all 7 swing states and the popular vote in a historic landslide. There are consequences to losing elections, but based on their letter to me, the Democrats haven't figured that out yet. They are trying to eliminate the popular $50 billion Rural and Vulnerable Hospital Fund, which was passed with only Republican votes and proudly signed into law by me. The Democrats in Congress seem to have totally lost their way. They obviously have no idea what it means to put America first or to make America great again. All congressional Democrats want to do is enact radical left policies that nobody have voted for. High taxes, open borders, no consequences for violent criminals, men in women's sports, taxpayer-funded transgender surgery, and much more. Very few people voted for what they represent, which would lead to the destruction of America. Instead, people voted for common sense, and that is what the Republicans and your president, Donald J. Trump, stand for. With that said, I look forward to meeting with them if they ever get serious about the future of our nation. We must keep the government open and legislate like true patriots, rather than hold American citizens hostage knowing that they want our now thriving country closed. I'll be happy to meet with them if they agree to the principles in this letter. They must do their job, otherwise it will just be another long and brutal slog through their radicalized quicksand. To the leaders of the Democrat Party, the ball is in your court. I look forward to meeting with you when you become realistic about the things that our country stands for. Do the right thing. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I know that was a long one, but hey, like I said, scorched earth. President Trump does not care. He is done playing games, and most importantly of all, very clearly he is done tolerating the radical far-left antics of the anti-American Democrats. And on that note, take a look at this.
But it just goes to the fact the Democratic Party isn't about candidates or individuals. It's a machine, right? Joe Biden is a void. He is an empty vessel. Kamala Harris is a void. She is an empty vessel. Chuck Schumer is a void. He is an empty vessel. The Democrat Party is an organization. It is a structure that delivers the exact same policies no matter who is in charge. Open borders, violent crime, domestic terrorism, high taxes, socialism, and unilateral economic surrender around the globe. That's what the Democratic Party is. And they choose nominees like Biden and like Harris. By the way, President Trump's the first candidate in history to beat two general election candidates in one race, because they know that if they get elected, the donors will control them, the media will control them, the special interests will control them, the bureaucracy will control them.
And so, folks, everything he just said is absolutely true. Now that President Trump is back in the White House, very clearly the days in which we all tolerated all of the Democrats' anti-American behavior have officially come to an end. And also, President Trump himself raised an excellent point. All of us Americans have overwhelmingly chosen which path we want the country to go down. We are sick of all of the Democrats' anti-American policy points, and we're sick of getting screwed over by the far left. And as you all know, right this very moment, the congressional Democrats have a catastrophically low national approval rating of 16%. So why in the hell would we listen to anything that they have to say? So folks, as I like to say, we have chosen our fate, and what we want is to finally start putting America first.